Biden looked to be ahead. But President Trump has been coming back, and he's pulling away with 72% of the vote.
Right now, just as a reminder, we have the Electoral College math in the left-hand corner of your screen. It will be there all night. So again, at 10 p.m. tonight.
These states called at this point in time, even Florida, which looks to be leaning toward the president. We've been waiting quite a while on it. I want to bring in SMU Associate Professor of Political Science, Matthew Wilson. He's on the SMU campus now, and I think I'm going to start off by asking you a really broad question, which is, anything surprise you so far tonight?
A couple of things. First of all, that Biden is not running stronger in the returns thus far in the upper Midwest. Trump is doing better in Michigan, for example, than I expected, based on what I'm looking at so far. Also, Joe Biden's underperformance among Latino voters. That's showing up here in Texas. It showed up in Florida. Those are two things that have surprised me thus far.
When you look at I know Pennsylvania, we're going to wait on a lot of the mail-in votes.
Right.
But we also know that a lot of those counties in Pennsylvania, a handful of them that aren't even going to start counting until tomorrow, are states that Donald Trump strongly won in 2016. So are we really going to have any sense of the direction that Pennsylvania is going to be going at the end of the night, or too early to say?
Too early to say for sure, and I would say Pennsylvania is the state that Donald Trump won in 2016, but not really strongly. I mean, it was very close, and so I would expect Pennsylvania to be a nail-biter once again, and the presidency may well come down to that, because if Trump holds on in all of these Sunbelt states and he wins in Ohio, but if Biden wins in Arizona, where right now he's looking pretty strong, then we really are focusing on Pennsylvania as potentially the linchpin to deciding this election.
One of the things we talked about going into this year was the early vote, the mail-in vote, and in expecting we would see this kind of balloon mirage in certain states. It clearly looks like that was the case in Texas, where we saw Biden ahead, and now we see the president leading. So far, is everything in terms of your expectations about that balloon mirage panning out so far?
In Texas, absolutely. I expected that to be the case, because we saw that in 2018. When the first dump of votes came in 2018, Beto O'Rourke was leading Ted Cruz, and it looked as if there was a blue wave in Texas. Well, Democrats did do well in Texas in 2018, but once the election day vote was tabulated, then, of course, Beto O'Rourke fell behind. Ted Cruz ended up being reelected to the Senate. So I definitely did expect that Democrats would look stronger in the first reported vote totals in the state than they would at the end of the night. And so that's why, Senator Cornyn now is winning fairly comfortably. Looks like President Trump will take the state. And it's too early to say for sure, but it looks like Democrats may be disappointed in their bid to take the State House of Representatives as well, although we still have to wait on some results there.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew Wilson, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to touch base throughout the evening with some more questions, and as we watch these numbers check in, and I think Steve Eager might have a question.
Yeah, Blake, I just want to ask either one of you, but Matthew, you talked about the early wave of the same-day voting and the other votes that will come in. You see that thing? What other states have you seen? I see Ohio's got 90% of the voting, but you look at Michigan with 42%, Pennsylvania with 44%. How solid are these early numbers? What do you know about those?
Well, it just varies a lot from state to state, because every state has different laws and rules about ballot counting. So, for example, in Texas, we know that all of the early vote is the first thing we hear. So the people who voted over the last few weeks, those are the first numbers that we get. That tends to skew somewhat Democratic. In Pennsylvania, by contrast, they can't even start to count the substantial mail-in voting until Election Day. So the first results that we get in Pennsylvania are going to tend to lean more Republican, because those are going to be the Election Day ballots. So it really does vary a lot, and you need to know on a state-by-state basis to figure out whether it's potentially a red mirage or potentially a blue mirage.
Okay. Matthew Wilson, Blake, do you want to talk about the West Coast votes coming in?
Yeah, just real quick, we've got, and I think I've got them all, we're going to go ahead. Fox is calling Washington State, Oregon, California for Biden as expected. Idaho, it looks like, is going towards President Trump, and I think that's just the 4 that they're calling at this point in time. So, no surprises. We're just getting some more numbers out on the West Coast now.
All right, Blake, Matthew, thank you. So what that does, though, is that puts Joe Biden, the elect, is actually the refreshed number for President Trump. 148.
Okay.
I think so.
He only picked
That's
up. He only picked up Idaho.
So I'm looking at the Fox News.
But Idaho's 4. He was at
Right.
115. But you got other. Is Fox News?
No, now it's throwing back.